ultimate can be akin to it. We were talking about, hey, we want to see those early picks. Beichuan's buy is gone now. That was one of the first things banned. So when you see the Blitzcrank ban, I think it's pretty interesting just because it obviously hints towards more enchanters. I think they were maybe hoping to see if they can grab Emilio and take away some of those counters. But like you were saying, I think the Lulu would be perfect here. But really any kind of engage is fine as long as you can just land it onto Doggo.
Not the biggest fan of the Renata. I'll wait till it gets picked as the cardinal sin of talking about hovers and stuff like that. But
oh yeah,
there we go. Wait to see what they want to go for. I do prefer the Wukong here from the side of TT, kind of just say, look, get our jungler locked and loaded. But does mean I feel like Ultra Prime can just pick up the Lulu here for SwordArt and you know, get themselves that just insane amounts of carry potential from the Zeri. But they're gonna go with the Annie first and foremost, get that one locked in and loaded, and yep, there's the Lulu. I mean, just Zeri with an enchanter right now is just so busted. Even on 13-11, it's still just so difficult to deal with this champion when it's able to get going.
Turns out Zeri is still pretty good. All the way a couple months later, you would have thought, hey, a couple months ago, this champion should have been nerfed. Big thumbs up going over to all the big Zeri players. As an AD carry player myself, I am always happy when Zeri is playable because this champion is so much fun. I know everybody likes to complain. I saw Ox, I saw Jamada getting really kind of hype on Twitter about wanting this champion gone. I'm one of the few. I love this champion so much.
I was going to say, you're one of the very few.
I'm the brave few here online.
Yeah, you are I will not say whether or not I am, but definitely feels like one of those things where feels like, you know, there's a very clear consensus of kind of how things go. Pew Pew wins the game, but TT do get themselves a recon off the back of that one there, so they recognize, look, it's pretty much a free laning phase all in all, so we're happy to take something that's a little bit more, I suppose, a little bit more kind of, you know, engage heavy to kind of work with that Wukong, and I do love this engage. You go in with the quickness or the cyclone, and you're able to follow up with the other one, vice versa. It's such a powerful combination of getting someone CC down and killing them.
And we now have another situation where K'Sante has made it to the second round of picks and bans. So I wonder if that's going to be TT's focus. As you see already, Ultra Prime are starting to get away or get rid of some of those counters. Also leaves up a pretty strong Gragas angle with Gwen being taken away. We haven't seen it this patch, or we haven't seen it so far very often, but they're still available for something like a Fiora, the Jax, especially if you're going to be picking up the Gragas, things that they should be looking out for. And I've been hearing some rumblings about some other top laners here, kind of hinting towards that Volibear ban. We might see this champion start to creep into the game a little bit more now.
Yeah, might be seeing him coming back into the meta just a little bit, but for the moment he is on the ban table. The Silas gets taken away from Ucal alongside the Gwen, away from Hoya, so I kind of like the idea of taking away these two very big kind of counters. And again, we're kind of just letting this K'Sante just fall way down the priority pick here. And it's not that it's a, you know, that it's a massive threat or anything like that, but we've seen it so many times where one knockback onto multiple members, or even just catching out someone like the Zeri and taking her out of the fight, can just be all you need sometimes on the side of TT to win the fight for you. So gonna get that one locked in for Hoya again. Not really caring about what he goes up against Hery, because honestly, Ultra Prime, they didn't really do it. We didn't actually look top once, I believe, in that last game because there was just no need to.
Yeah, there were two tech top laners, man. There's no reason for us to be looking up into the top lane. All the action was on other sides of the map, and it's this Poppy and the Gnar here. So kind of speaking on that K'Sante, the fun little joke I have for K'Sante is that every matchup for K'Sante is win or lose depending on how many Q3s you can land. Can you hit the knockups? If yes, then every matchup is looking good. You can take advantage of every single kind of champion. But here between these two, when we've seen Hery kind of succeed, it has been on those carries, so I want to see what he can do on this Gnar, who does play a little bit of a hybrid role. It's definitely more of that team fighter, but can be a bruiser in the laning phase with different kind of itemization.
Yeah, definitely feel like that coming in. The Kennen coming in here as well. So actually a K'Sante going into the mid lane.
Wow.
We've seen TT flex this a couple of times. They're happy to take this into the Annie, because the whole thing with the Annie is that you want to try and go up against a mage. You want to go up against an Ahri or something like that, because you can just throw up the Tivers, get a lot of burst damage down, and then move to the objective, and you're not really in any threat. So getting the K'Sante into that matchup means that you can take that burst damage, you're still going to be relevant, and you got to see how, you know, kind of the game kind of works with this one now, because there's so many Venn diagrams of death coming out from TT. There's so much potential threat onto the Zeri. It's going to be a lot of pressure here onto SwordArt to make sure that his AD carry stays alive.
Another situation where I'm going to be looking at our junglers here to have massive impact. Beichuan on his Wukong, one of the most popular junglers in the meta right now, and this Poppy should be able to put in work. The low range composition of Thunder Talk should be looking a little dangerous here, as Poppy's Vanguard should stop everybody from going in. Hey, there's a Cassante trying to go in. Guess what? I've got this really big ultimate that can kind of knock him away. Same thing with the Kennen here. I think that this Poppy pick is going to be putting in overtime. We'll just have to see if Ultra Prime can maybe keep that up.
We'll have to wait and see. And again, Ultra Prime did literally everything perfectly in the first 20 minutes of Game 1, and then it just all fell apart. They had the run of TT, and TT held solid. They knew how they wanted to play their game, and they played it absolutely to perfection after the 20-minute mark. This game, we got to see how Ultra Prime I want to see them come back in with the same level of aggression. You mentioned it in that Game 1. They had a great early game. They continue to look that decent kind of setup. I want to see them do that again, but this time just, you know, hold their nerve and make sure they don't fall too far behind.
All right, Yo, just getting a few bit of procs there. Just probably gonna have to take an early recall here, get back into base, but gonna have to see what TT can do, and for Ultra Prime, what they can do to bring themselves back into this series. They've got a lot of work ahead of themselves. They got most of the job done in that Game 1, but unable to finish it out there, like we've been saying. And already, I think, depending on where junglers are going to be going, there are a lot of options here. For Ning, when you are playing this Poppy, you have a lot of early resistances thanks to your W when you get low. And if he's going to be looking to try to go into the top side here, could be setting up for Hery to have a pretty decent game between these two, because we're kind of expecting for Doggo SwordArt to just want to look to farm. You're not going to be able to contest the early lane thanks to the Caliber on 1xN.
And it's the thing as well, you pick the Gnar because you're generally expecting it to be a melee matchup. It gives you the pressure into that lane. They thought it was going to be the Cassante for Hoya, because we did see it in game number 1. But again, you don't want to be going into a ranged matchup or range versus range as the Gnar, because you get punished so much because of those resistances being taken out so much on the mini form. So we'll have to wait and see if Hery does have the wherewithal to deal with Hoya pushing into him on this Kennen. But for the moment, Ultra Prime should have pretty decent priority, you would imagine, in most of the lanes. And that's where I'm kind of looking towards Ning and seeing where he can make things happen. He's going to be on that Poppy, plenty of opportunity to kind of get around people and put down that steadfast presence. So we'll see if he's able to make an impact on any of these lanes early.
I think this is really interesting. The fact that Ultra Prime were able to grab priority over this bottom lane so early on. 1xN taking a pretty massive trade alongside that as well. So Ultra Prime, we saw the interview with Yao saying we have to keep an eye on the laning phase. We have to make sure that their bottom lane is not getting ahead. Well, right there, yet again, Doggo and SwordArt getting the better of their opponents here and trying to keep up the pressure. So Ning, he looks across the map. I have an Annie who's pushing in Cassante. My bottom lane is getting the wave under the turret super early on. And the only place that we can look for, if you want to look for a gank, is going to be this Kennen. But they already have a ward here, and Beichuan is somewhat in the area. He's going to be very late to this if he does come.
Well, Hoya now recognizing that Ning is here, just going to back himself away. Ning recognizes, well, I'm probably on a ward, so I'm just going to walk away from this particular one here. Hoya should get the crash, no problem whatsoever. Just get a boulder into the back of the head and for his troubles, but shouldn't be too worried about that at the end of it all. And again, this is going to be kind of where the game is. The meta is, unfortunately, with a little bit of farming, no one really kind of does anything until that level 6 mark, unless we do have a Blitzcrank or a Nautilus in the game where they can catch you out with a hook or so. But realistically, we're not going to see pretty much anything happening, you would imagine, for at least another 3 or 4 minutes.
All right, well, since we do have that time, Ashin, how long have you been playing League?
Oh, God. I started...
You don't have to date yourself now.
I mean, I started after Season 2 Worlds when Taipei Assassins won.
Okay. What has been your favorite meta? I think it's always interesting to hear like which parts of the game they really enjoyed.
What was my favorite meta? I'm gonna go like real old school because
go for it.
My favorite meta was when like you had Veins and Kog'Maws, and like that was like Season 3, I want to say, maybe Season 4. It was a while ago. I love outplays, man. Again, dating myself, I was there when the insect was created. So I've been here a while. And yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem. I like hyper carries, but I like hyper carries with like it's gonna sound bad, but like skill. It doesn't feel as great when it doesn't feel as, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel as satisfying when an Aphelios just throws out an ultimate with Infernum and it just blows up everybody's health bar. But you get a Vayne who's like ducking and weaving and dodging everybody and getting into such great positions and stuff. It feels better. That was like prime Uzi days, which we will be seeing on Wednesday. But that was probably my favorite meta.
Okay, I mean, you must have had a ball then during Season 9 when we had, like, Akali, Aurelia, there was Xayah, Kai'Sa every game.
Oh, yeah. Again,
that was a lot of fun.
The greatest play to ever happen was Zed versus Zed, Faker versus Ryu.
True.
Like, it was, and again, we'll never have that again because Blind Pick doesn't exist anymore, but, like, that is the greatest play that's ever going to happen in this kind of, like, you know, 1v1 because, again, it's an actual 1v1. They're both the same champion.
Yeah, okay, Beichuan.
Forge has no mana, but Ucal not going to get the knockback. Forge just has a flash away. He did drop down the Tibbers. This is what I was talking about. You've got plenty of kind of survivability here as Ucal just to kind of drop down the Tibbers and not really care about it if you're Ucal.
Yeah, exactly. Forge right now is just going to be able to push this out and kind of has to look for a teleport here as Forge is going to be able to do the same. I was getting a little bit worried there as we saw Beichuan does a ton of damage early game and had already gotten a back in, got a lot of long swords, so got a bit dicey there, but getting the flash is something that they can revisit, especially because it is still a Wukong. He's going to be hitting level 6 soon, and Yao Yao on this Rakan can look for angles to try to disrupt this mid matchup.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it ends up kind of going. Kind of going for that. Hoya thinking about maybe getting a little bit more damage down, but no flash from Hery to be expended just yet, but it will mean pressure in that top side. Hery doesn't have a TP either and not exactly close to his Mega Gnar for the moment, so this should be a pretty easy kind of push in. Beichuan is around, but Ning is kind of protecting Hery as he picks up some honey fruit to keep him relevant, because again, it could have been a pretty bad situation there for the Gnar.
He would have been stuck, he would have had no teleport. Good job from Yao Yao to find that. They're going to punish with Gravitum here.
Yeah, they're going to look to anyway. Not quite able to go for it just yet, but Doggo losing his flash is pretty significant considering, again, TT having a much stronger time than they did in game number 1. In game number 1, Ultra Prime had such a stronger start that it felt like, you know, TT just couldn't really go toe-to-toe. Now we're seeing TT going much more comfortably into these laning phases.
Well, this is what we wanted to see from them, right? Like, hey, you have the Aphelios early on. This is a Zeri that, hey, can do a little bit of damage early on, but is not really known for her early game. So let's take advantage of that, getting a pretty big win. You had said, hey, whichever one of these 80 carries doesn't have that flash, doesn't have those summoner spells, that's a big loss for you. And now Doggo without this flash opens up more plays, not only for them, but again, Beichuan wanting to get involved. We still have not had our first dragon here, and really for Ultra Prime, I think this is more surprising for them. They are always the ones to try to fight for early priority, fight for early dragons, and Ning especially sits in that river and is looking for plays.
Beichuan gets himself the Cyclone. Do have the Keeper's Verdict available for the side of Ultra Prime if the Poppy wants to go for it, but Yao Yao not quite level 6 just yet. Here we go. They're going to go straight in on top of Doggo. No flash, no way to get out, and it's as easy as that. Nice first blood there for TT, and they get it onto the Aphelios as well.
There we go. So being able to cross this wave, 1xn's going to catch the next one to make sure it gets under, but now there's just going to be that objective trade. As soon as Wukong shows and Ning is on the top side, just got to be able to start up this Rift Herald and maybe look for something else, try to look for some turret plates before they fall down, but good play from Thundertalk, and that just comes off immediately after the bot lane play that we had just saw. So no summoner spells, let's attack the Zeri.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to trade back the top side pressure for the bot side pressure that you did just get, but that's a plate going over now, and Doggo's got to be a little bit careful there. 1xn is still fairly dangerous on his own with that Calibrum and Gravitum combination. It's kind of becoming a little bit of a sleeper combination. Obviously, we know about the green and white, we know about the red and white, but and of course the blue and purple. But it does feel like, you know, having that Calibrum to lock down, you know, kind of get that extra range and then lock someone down with the Gravitum. It's seeming a little bit of a kind of an extra little bit of engage coming out here from the Aphelios. So proving again that don't let Zeri being OP distract you from the other champions who are OP in the game. Aphelios has been better since he came out and has yet to really falter in that regard. But, I miss Kaisa. Now you've got me thinking of old man. I miss Kaisa so much. Kaisa
You
was
should.
so fun.
You should. She did get some. I obviously with the itemization changes a couple patches ago, she got some love. She had a bit of a garage sale build to try and make her breakpoints on her evolutions, but they did nerf Stormrazor this patch and specifically noted that Kaisa was performing a little too well, and so they'll be looking at maybe her evolutions in the future to see how healthy she's feeling after the Stormrazor nerf. But hey, if we can get a Kaisa meta again, I'm definitely happy, because you know what that means? We're going to be moving away from the Melios, we're going to be getting away from the Lulus.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the only reason the Kaisa was meta, because you need hard engage. She shotguns
You need the
herself
Nautilus
into,
every single
game. She shotguns herself into the back of the enemy team, which means what you call it, the enchanters are just kind of left going, oh, Jesus, what's happening right now? I don't already know where you've gone.
I can't shield you if you're on
I
the other side
follow
of the
you
map.
there. Yeah. Exactly, and that's that. You know what? Without enchanters, without AD carries as the the main kind of things. Again, one of my most hated metas, I think, was the Heimerdingers, Ashes, Lux metas. That was, which we just got out of. That wasn't fun. Which, in fairness, I say we got out of, but we have been seeing it kind of creeping back in for a couple of teams here in the LPL and I think in the LCK as well.
I was gonna say, we just saw the TES game where there was we had Varus Heimerdinger, so. It's still there. It's still sitting in the shadows, waiting. Now, same thing here for TT. They want to try and make this play, but should have just shown on the ward there. Ucal.
Yeah, gonna look to go all out with the quickness as well. They do not have a huge amount of damage between. It takes a while. One more little tick would have been enough, but not having the ignite on Yao Yao means that Forge is able to walk away from that one unscathed. Well, not unscathed, but definitely still keeping his life. Means that there's not really much else to be done here. It does have the TP, should be able to defend the next wave. And again, like the TT are looking for it, but this is the problem with the Cassante. You still need damage.
Thundersark have decided that Forge does not get to have a summoner spell this game, and that summoner spell is not Flash. As Ning trying to make a play onto a resourceless Ucal, but this is the kind of champion that I was expecting coming into the series to see more of from Forge. The Annies, the Grogguses like we had been talking about, where he's able to, hey, lose lane gracefully. You know, there is an art to say, I'm in a losing matchup, or hey, I don't need to be exerting myself, overplaying my hand. I am looking to be an engaged source, be a bit of a small enchanter, thanks to the change onto her E so long ago. And if that's what you need to do, if that's how you gather wins, Ultra Prime are more than happy with that, especially when you have players like Ning, especially like Doggo. And as they grab this Rift Herald and use it to get a few more plates onto their AD carry, a full one there for him as well, so kind of making sure to even up some of that parity from that solo kill there.
And it's interesting as well to see the different styles, the build paths that we're seeing from different AD carries on the same champion. Last game, it was Storm Rangers right into a Gale Force to get that early spike to continue onto it. But now, with the Storm Razor kind of nerf, you can see the TT are kind of saying, or at least 1xN's kind of saying, look, I don't really need to go for that big early spike. We got the first Dragon. We're not really kind of looking to go and explode into this bot lane matchup. It just becomes harder and harder. So I'm going to go with the Kraken Slayer. I'm going to have to try and burn through this Poppy and this Gnar later on into the game. And honestly, straight up, the Doggo as Hery as well, with him going for the Triforce build. So it definitely feels like, you know, it got a little bit more freedom of expression in those item build diversity paths, and it's just going to be fun to see. I also like the Forge is kind of foregoing, saying, you know, I don't really need to deal with the Cassante at these moments in time. I'm not going to go for some kind of tank draining with the Leandries. I'm going straight for that Ludens. I need to just burn down 1xN and a Hoya.
Yeah, it's just not the role that Annie's going to fill in this game, right? You want to be first mage. You're there to drop Tibbers on top of someone and see if they're going to go down. See if you're going to suddenly get an increase in 300 gold into their back pocket. The Kraken Slayer option is really good when you're going to be hitting frontline here. So 1xN expecting for Ning and Hery to be living on top of him, making sure that there's if there's gonna be a Gnar, I'm gonna try and get as much damage as possible. Where that Stormrazor is so good when you're up against those squishy champions. So here for now for Ultra Prime, bit of a slower game. There is a dragon that is spawning here in a couple of seconds, and we're already making our moves. Everyone's here. Forge caught out.
I mean, Forge is caught out, but the Keeper's Verdict actually misses it. Thought it was going to do a little bit more. Beichuan has to flash away because he's being chased down by Ning, who might be able to take him out. Yes, he will. Now Yao Yao and Ucal just caught between a rock and a hard place. Tibbers walking forward, just making sure they can't trade back any of that damage. Hoya is moving down now to try and maybe contest for this one here, but TT looked for that fight. They just didn't realize how many people were around that Dragon Pit.
Goes over the wall and is like, ah, there is more than one member. Huh. Well, that's awkward. Gets his item, but a kill means that they not only get the flash out of Beichuan, they get the ultimate. They're going to start up this dragon and take it away from them. And now there's a Rift Herald here. Ultra Prime can move over here. It's going to take a little bit of time for Ning. He's actually going to go for a reset, and with the amount of movement speed that Poppy has, should be able to make it over. But I love what Hoya has been doing in this matchup. He has been pushing Hery under the turret and then looking to go into Fog, looking to try to pressure, maybe say, hey, look, I'm going to feign into Fog of War and try to maybe go mid lane, maybe set up a play elsewhere, get some early vision to make sure where Ning is, track where they are at.
Hoya might look for a bit of an engage now. Hery has just gone into Mininar. Doesn't quite land the Q, so just kind of happy with a little bit of harassment there. And it's the thing, the Rift is gone towards that Chem Soul, so the Soul may not be as impactful as people like it to be, but the Rift itself is so powerful. The Scryer's Blooms, the extra shielding on the Honey Fruit, and of course the extra distance on the Blast Cones. Those things can set up, you know, kind of weird and wonderful ways of expressing yourself in a team fight, so I'm curious to see how both these teams kind of work with that. And we saw it there. Hoya was kind of saying, hey, I got extra distance on this Blast Cone. I could maybe look for something here. And it doesn't lead to anything, but it's always fun to look at.
Yeah, especially where we're talking about people who are looking to try and be those burst mage. Hoya's one of them. For Ultra Prime, it's Forge. If there's a Blast Cone and you're sending in Annie Tibbers, here we go.
Oh. Here we go. They're going to throw in the Cyclone of Death here with Slicing Maelstrom, but the Zeri goes completely untouched. They tried everything, and that just led to nothing. The Keeper's Verdict kept everybody away. Ultra Prime getting themselves 2 kills and a Rift Herald. And similar to game number 1, it's TT faltering in this early game.
1xN got sent right back to base with that one. That Keeper's Verdict sent him out. That was all the damage, and while Hoya with an ultimate tried to catch out some members, he barely felt like he really put a dent in. I mean, they don't even have exhaust for that, and it still felt like there wasn't quite a lot of damage from this cannon that maybe we were expecting. So TT, feeling like they might have to go back to the drawing board with how they want to find engages. Let's take a look at this replay, because I was pretty sure this was a pretty great fight for them. Yao Yao and Beichuan finding engages, but it's Forge with this massive, I mean, yeah, look, like you're saying, Doggo is taking 0 harassment. No one's on top of him. But a stopwatch coming out from our mid laner in Forge finds a pretty nice pick there for Ultra Prime.
And again, 3,000 gold lead now here for Ultra Prime coming into the mid-game of this setup. And the great damage from Forge as well, getting that Tibbers down, getting nearly 6,000 at 17 minutes, even 16 minutes into the game is kind of unheard of, to be perfectly honest. It's why this Annie is so coveted. So many teams ban it away, and it feels like it has to be just taken away at all times. Now Forge might be walking straight in. He's right beside a wall. Hoya thinking about maybe going for something, but he's waiting for the rest of his team to kind of move up on top of this one here. Holding and waiting for it. He knows there will be a little bit of a stun available for him. The Tibbers comes down. Forge doesn't have a stopwatch this time around, but does he have from support? Yes, he does. And now Hoya's in trouble because he's going to get knocked up by the Keeper's Verdict. SwordArt picks up a kill. Here. Oh, it's disaster for TT. What is happening right now? The Zeri coming in to maybe look for something. They do get a little bit of a knock-up, but Ning is too tanky now at this stage. Yao Yao just about getting out with his life. Ucal is here, but what are you going to do, Cassante? 4v1, there's just not really a lot you can.
Oh, Doggo!
And 1xN, Zeri moment! It's a Zeri moment! Pew, pew! Doggo picks up a kill. Nicely done, and now they get the tower. Ucal's a little bit in no man's land. He does not want to be caught out any more than he already is. And while this is all happening, this is effectively 4v5 because Hery's in the top side.
He is just wailing away at these turrets. Ultra Prime, like we were talking about, they said game 1 was an anomaly. We were in an advantage the entire time. The fact that we lost that, hey, no sweat our back. We're going to keep it trucking. We're going to keep on with our good moves. And Ning just comes up so massive there. Hoya was waiting. He saw on the ward where the rest of Ultra Prime was trying to go for this play. There was that control ward in the brush, but just not enough damage here for this cannon.
I mean, you can see how close it is. Just 1 or 2 more ticks. Even that Q lands, I feel like he maybe would have gotten it, but a nice ult there from SwordArt to kind of knock up the rest of the team. And now, oh, we can see on live, yeah, that Rakan's dead.
Oh.
There's not really much else to kind of go for it. This is
right
looking
here.
a lot more, yeah, this right here is just kind of what I'm looking at right now, because Doggo just goes, hey, wait, I'm a Zeri. There's nothing you can do about it. And he just goes in, flash cleanse to get rid of the Gravitum stun. Really, really nicely done. Has a Triforce with the Rune Lands, building up towards that Titanic Hydra. The man's insane. And again, Hery is so busted right now. I really cannot wait for this champion to be nerfed into the absolute ground. If we do not see a Hery game for the next 7 seasons of League of Legends, it will be too soon. Like, that's how I feel about this champion.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, there's been a lot of Hery. I understand. I hear you. However, I think this champion is great. It is a bit abusive, I will say. She has always kind of oscillated between 2 different builds. The on-hit build with this Trinity Force and the Titanic Hydra, and then the crit build. They tried to get rid of the Trinity Force, and then they buffed Trinity Force like a lot. So
yeah,
definitely feels like, you know, when we're going into the next patch as well, Hery is receiving a nerf for these on-hit builds, so she will move back into the crit, but yeah, she has a pretty long time to say. During this entire time, TT just started the Baron. They said, look, we want to try and continue to push the pace of this game, force their hand.
Ning is not really here. Ning is miles away, so the flip is not really here. This is a great decision. Macro call. Just absolutely fantastic for the side of TT. They recognize, hey, look, they're all on resets. Nobody's walking forward, and we had to make something happen. Really like that coming out from TT, and that shores up the gold. Oh, dear, Ulk, we're past 20 minutes. What happened in game number 1? I'm starting to see a little bit of deja vu. Have we seen this movie before?
One of these teams doesn't have Jinx, so it's less likely. I will say it's a little less likely, but when we're looking at the carries, Doggo and 1xN are even right now. Yes, Doggo has all of those kills, has a little bit more go. Ucal?
Ucal, don't know if you can actually take that 1v1. You can't take that 1v1, and yes, Hery is here with a boomerang, trying to see if he can maybe go for something else. What was that, Ucal? That was just, yeah, scratching your head. I'm scratching my head, bro, because I don't know what you were doing.
Well, now he's lost right now because that was the, I mean, he went for that play. They got the teleport out of Hery, and despite them having the Baron, they're not actually able to apply that pressure onto other sides of the map. They punish Ultra Prime for investing so many resources of getting all of these turrets in the bottom lane. Hery goes in, does not get the flash.
I mean, that's a big miss there on the flash. That means Forge and Hery are both dead. Nice little capitalization there for the side of TT to, you know, 4v5 still come out of it, because I think Hery just got a little bit too antsy right there. And both the solo laners go down. So again, more gold going back into TT's pockets.
Oshin, I'm scared.
Why are you scared? Don't be afraid of it. The LPL is a friend. It's an old friend.
It's
the
an old
throws
friend,
are part of life.
This game right now is giving me game 1 vibes right now, right? Like, they were so far ahead, and it feels like Ultra Prime maybe overextending themselves here. I mean, Forge under this turret, he's just tanking it up. I don't know exactly what they were looking for.
I mean, yeah, like, I mean, look, I wouldn't have minded it as much if it's like, oh, 1xN flashed away, Yao had to use something, but 1xN just Gale Force, and Yao just battle dance back to him. So it wasn't as if he got a lot else out of it. It was like he lost his flash, and that was it. He lost his flash and his life, and then the rest of his team kind of looked at him doing it. So, and this is the thing as well. You're looking at TT's composition, and yes, so far they've been kind of out-damaged, outdone by the side of Forge and Doggo, kind of, you know, having so much value in these picks, but eventually this Aphelios will burn you down. Eventually this Kennen will one-shot your backline, and that's the scary part of it. There is zero magic resistance on the side of Ultra Prime, apart from a pair of Merc Treads here for Doggo. So it is definitely a possibility here for the side of TT to just burst people out on the back end of a fight.
It'll be very dangerous, like you were saying, and we've got Dragon in a minute and a half. There's no soul point, or there could be one for Ultra Prime, but alongside the Baron and the picks that they were able to make, Thundertalk are feeling more and more comfortable with the state of the game. I'm hoping that Ultra Prime can kind of reel it back in, find something a little bit different, because I have been really happy with what we've seen from them. Not only from Doggo and SwordArt, but again, Ning has been finding those plays. He has been instrumental in getting these teams leads, but they need to be able to close it out. It feels like a little bit of lack of direction, lack of that voice to rein in all of these players and say, look, this is what we're going to do. Let's not try to overplay our hand. We need to be able to close this game out cleanly if we want to stand a chance in this series.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like, again, we're slowing down. It's only a 2,000 gold lead, and it's a Chemsol. So again, not exactly ideal. Even if Ultra Prime get themselves here on top of the Soul Point, it's not really something that TT are really worried about. I will say TT would love to get it for themselves, considering they have got the Cassante and he benefits greatly from the Chemsol, but not really the greatest of, you know, or the worst of situations to find yourself in. The last soul was far more impactful, and we know exactly how that last game went. So for TT, they are building up. 3 items though onto Doggo. 3 items nearly being built up here by Forge as he's got himself the Rabadon's Death Cap. You even have a hole breaker here for Hery as he looks to try and dominate on those side lanes. This is where the game becomes about execution and how you're able to make these team fights work for you and your team.
This feels like a bit of an adaptation mid-game here when we're talking about the hole breaker for Hery. Bit of a different kind of style we'll see from this Gnar. But TT are super prevalent at just sitting in mid and over grouping. They do this a lot. They've done this in a few of their games where Ucal had an advantage and kind of squandered it, moving from lane to lane, trying to pick up farm, and the rest of the team is just sitting in mid, huddled around, arms locked in with each other, trying to make something happen. Doggo, too far up.
You're left on your lonesome. He finally gets away, but that's his flash and his cleanse down. Can they jump on the Forge? You can see there that they're going to put Beichuan as a sacrificial lamb. I feel like he was just kind of saying to himself, look, we're probably dead either way. I don't have my flash regardless, so we might as well just kind of take that one. We're going to lose the Chem Drake, and there's no Baron for a minute. So I think it was more to disengage than anything else. I'm not going to give him too much of a hard time about that particular
Yeah, for sure. Trying to build some space for the rest of his team. There are no summoners used during that fight for Thunder Talk. If you look at Ultra Prime, may have just bought them a little bit of extra, space. No flash, no cleanse. A stopwatch here for Doggo is the only level of protection that he will be able to grant himself when we're talking about this Baron fight. The Baron dance between these two teams. As we get into this replay, I kind of want to see what happened, because it seemed like, okay, he just came in out of Fog of War and found this pick. I mean, sure, it's fine, but their ability to turn right here is why I love this composition here for Ultra Prime. Immediately, Forge comes in and grabs that stun, and they're able to pick up that kill.
Yeah, I think maybe, actually, on the second look at it, I think maybe Beichuan was expecting Forge to go for a flash in with the Tibbers to try and catch people out. That's why he kind of throws it a bit more haphazardly, shall we say. Either or, it ends up being a kill in favor of Ultra Prime as they bring themselves to about 4,000 gold in the lead. But we have been here before, Alt. We know this song and dance. We know how this one goes. And now with a full Zonya's finisher for Forge, he's onto 3 items himself. The Baron is now onto the Rift, and this is where the game gets a little bit testy. We'll check once this banner goes down whether or not we do have 3 items on the Aphelios. Yes, we do. So this is the moment here where you can see the Aphelios kind of go, but Hery's kind of on his own on the bot side, taking an inhibitor. You still gotta cover him right now. And honestly, I feel like it should be Ucal who really kind of looks for him because he's the one who's built full tank.
Could be. Doesn't have the same amount of ability to poke as maybe the Kennen would, and I would tend to agree with you. Right now, the wards are not great for the side of Thunder Talk. There's not a flank ward for Kennen to come off of. I think the most likely option is probably going to be teleporting in from this top wave. But right now, Ultra Prime, they're going to go ahead and push that in, and it is pulling apart Thunder Talk from being able to contest, being able to move in and really put down wards, really stamp their mark on some part of this map as Ultra Prime getting more and more damage, getting chip damage. One of the cool parts of the new Trinity Force change is he gets a ton of attack speed for hitting structures. So Hery can very quickly hit it with a bunch of Hullbreaker procs, walk back out, and it's very difficult for a TT to really nail him down.
All right, Ning, you found the first test. That's the first ward that was behind enemy lines that you've taken in. There are 2 more wards that you need to find in order to pass this test. That's what I'm looking at right now. And I will say for Ultra Prime, I'm not a big fan of the fact that they just threw in so much resources to make sure they had priority on this Baron, and then just gave it away, got a full reset off, and then just kind of went back to it. So now you're in a better position here as TT because of those 2 flank wards that are available to you. They're going to TP in the Cassante, make sure he is in position there, making sure that everybody is aware and available for him. Now Hery still maintaining the damage here on the bot side. Now you don't have a choice. It has to be Hoya who goes and deals with this because there's no TP here on the Cassante. And honestly, again, TT is kind of making a weird choice in the macro sense of the game, but Ultra Prime aren't really forcing their hand. We saw a recall come out here for Doggo to pick up BF sword, and yeah, that's great and all, but it's not, you're not doing anything. You're just waiting right now, and again, everyone's scaling.
Yeah. It's not necessarily that it gets worse, but they are just trying to find the absolute perfect fight. TT right now are looking for the 60-40 kind of team fight right now, and I don't think that Ultra Prime are going to give them that. We still have these 2 flank wards. Thank you to our observers for showing that. They're going to run out sooner rather than later. We have a dragon spawning in a minute and a half, and for Thunder Talk, if you're not going to get this soul, are you looking for an Elder Dragon, potentially? That's a really far ways away, and I think you're kind of leaving it up to chance while this entire time Hery is applying pressure on the side lane.
Forge! He jumps in on the Yao and he gets himself that kill. Hery is still pushing in that bot side in the picture. You can see Hoya maybe thinking about going for something there, but flash from Forge does secure him that kill. They start this drag Baron. They do start it, but again, it was only the support, not exactly the most high priority of targets. That's a hell of a lot of damage going down the Beichuan. That's just Tibbers doing it all on top of Ucal, trying to see if he can take a bit of a 1v1 right now. Will be forcing out a stopwatch right now as Forge taking so much damage, but the wild growth in the heal keeps him alive. While it's happening, Hery is ending the game. You need to make a decision here, TT. Ultra Primer running you around the map.
Beichuan does pick up some of the honey fruit here, and they're going to grab Vision. They're teleporting in with this Annie. Forge, full HP. Does have the flash for Beichuan. It is ticking down, and they're using the single 1xn tower. You look into the pit.
Yeah, they're going to get the knockback there. We're going to see
Beichuan
Beichuan go in. Does he try and burst it down? They're going to go 50-50! And it's stolen, and he gets away with it as well! Oh, my lord. Doggo trying to go for this one here. Goes over the wall. Immediately has to get out there. That's frustration from the Ultra Prime AD carry because he knows they shouldn't be giving up that objective.
And while they were low, Ultra Prime are still going to be able to grab this soul. A huge steal for Beichuan. Yet again, another Baron that is going to slow down the pace of this game and prevent Ultra Prime from outright winning. They'll grab themselves a soul, and it does mean that we're going to grab that Elder in a few minutes' time. But Ashin, we're back to where we originally started with a little bit of hype in between.
I mean, this is such a strange thing. Like, you're focusing out. Keep the keeper's verdict for Beichuan. Like, why are you keeping it for the... I don't know, man. Ning, that's just a bit of a poor kind of decision there. And then Doggo gets a little bit hyped there, thinking maybe he can go for it, but immediately has to flash cleanse over the wall. And now we get to see some of these standing structures get taken away. Now you've got Rabadon's death cap onto Hoya, so he's going to have a much more significant chance of taking out someone like Doggo and Forge if they get caught out.
Exactly. No summoner spells on either of these guys means that it is so easy for Thundertalk if they can find a position just like this. Beichuan and Yao sitting in Fog of War, looking to try and find something, maybe using a blast cone to get onto Doggo. With this wave crashing, they could go for a dive under this turret.
Has to be soon though, because you got Hery pushing on the top side with that hull breaker. He's doing a hell of a lot of damage. Got a good ward to cover off the eventual push in. Despite there being super minions in that bot side, it's actually Hoya who picks up a tier 2 in that bot lane. But again, like I said, Hery is pushing in on this Gnar, just being a menace. He's kind of said, look, I'm no longer going to be with the team. I just need to push in these side lanes, and he's doing just that and doing a great job of it.
All right, typically I'm a big hull breaker hater. Like this item is usually pretty useless for when we want to see team fights. Beichuan gonna get up onto Hery, should be able to get out, has a lot of movement speed again from this Trinity Force and the Dead Man's Plate. But he is getting maximum value right now. He has gotten 3 turrets by himself, 2 in the bottom lane, now 1 up here as well. Hery is doing everything. He is playing the Yordle version, the Yordle version of Fiora at this point, of Jax. He is just in a side lane at this point, constantly applying pressure. And while it is pulling TT a little bit away from maybe some of the objectives they would have wanted, they still have this Baron, and they're still more than comfortable with controlling the rest of this map now as the gold lead shrinks and Ultra Prime are corralled into the mid lane.
Here's the thing though, the Baron was great, and it's helped you come back into this game. You're still about 3,000 gold down, actually almost exactly 3,000 gold down for TT, but it's gone now. You've only had it for a couple last few seconds. You will be able to just melt these towers now, or these waves here as Hoya, but you're not going to have that same level of presence. 3 minutes 30 until the dragon spawns. That's going to be Elder Drake, like you mentioned earlier on, and we got 3 minutes until the Baron. So both objectives roughly going to have spawn at the exact same time, which even Abyssal Mass coming out here for Ning as well to try and give more presence and power to Forge. And again, more and more kind of pressure being put down here by the side of Ultra Prime. Can they finish it off? That's the big thing. Don't forget how game number 1 went when we got to the super late game. And a GA available for Beichuan means that he's very happy monkey, just kind of saying, look, I can dive in knowing I'm going to have a second life.
And it's just got to be so tense. This is when those, those veteran voices for either team really need to step up and lead their team to victory. We have some fresh faces across the board, but it's voices like Ning, it's voices like SwordArt for Ultra Prime, and for TT, you're looking at Ucal. how can we lead this team to victory? How can we get ourselves into position for, if you're TT, closing out the series, for Ultra Prime, getting another second chance at this, at this game to close it out. And Hoya, this could be their catch.
This could be it. He is going to go forward right there to try and maybe burst down Hery, but yeah, he's dead. You can't do anything now, and your support came in with the jungler. This is it. That's game. You've lost your engage. There's nothing else to be done there. You're going to need 1xN to literally use all 200 years of Helios' engineering to win this fight, because other than that, you're going to a game 3.
I kind of like the name there. He's going to have to be 1x9 right there. He's going to have to put on a performance. He's got red-white, but the crescendo is about to fall.
Doggo goes in with the lightning crash, and they take out Yao Yao. They're going to be able to try and push in for the last one. The Moonlight Vigil doesn't do anything, and that's going to be one kill going over, but nothing else. Ucal can't do anything on this Cassante. He's going to try and take down Hery, but some happy feet there from the Gnar means that Ultra Prime will be getting a bit of revenge for game number 1, and will be sending us to game number 3.
That's the correct reaction from Ultra Prime right there. Not feeling super satisfied with the quality of that game. They still did end up winning, and they're going to send us to a game 3 here, but they can't be super ecstatic about that. Thunder Talk did have the potential of coming back into that game.
I mean, yeah, I feel like for Ultra Prime, that was kind of how the game 1 should have went. Honestly, this should have been a 2-0. If being totally honest there from Ultra Prime. But yeah, for TT, they just felt like indecision leading to, indecision is a decision in itself. You're not making a choice. You're kind of hoping that you see a mistake. And just, for Ultra Prime, they didn't make one. They made sure that they kind of, yes, they flipped the Baron. That's a bit unfortunate. But for TT, I just didn't really see any, any proactivity. There was no TP coming in from Hoya to try and get onto a flank, and I felt like there was so many opportunities where they should have just pushed the ladder. They should have just made, kind of go for a big play, and they just didn't. And then when you're dealing with a split pusher of the Gnar with a hull breaker, you're always just going to lose that fight, because the longer the game goes on, the less pressure you have.
And this is symptomatic of a lot of losses here for Thunder Talk, where they don't make a lot of moves. It's a lot of action. Maybe we use Beichuan to go for it, but they don't do a lot. They have some maybe good laners. Again, it is mostly Ucal who is carrying their gold difference at 15. But aside from that, they wait for a mistake to happen. And when you're playing against better teams, and you're playing against a team who is playing very hot on the day, where is your avenue for success? We need to see someone either step up as a leader or look for something, because TT can look very lost if it's not a chaotic game that is just constantly moving, constantly at a different pace than maybe the rest of the league.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it is right now. And look, these are two of our, well, I would actually argue that Ultra Prime are one of our lower-end teams, and TT should be a playoff kind of pushing team. But unfortunately, this split doesn't seem to be coming together for them. And it does feel, like you said, it kind of stems from a much larger issue that we're not able to really see coming out here from TT. Seem to be struggling a lot with the game, seem to be struggling a lot with how they want to play it. No real decisive calling coming out for them right now. And it does feel like they are only really kind of capitalizing on teams' mistakes rather than creating their own opportunities.
I feel like when if I am a TT fan and I am looking and I've seen the rest of their games from this split, seeing Ucal have very little damage like that is heartbreaking. He is one of the leaders. He is the biggest kind of player when we look at this team, where we're like, oh my god, every game that they're winning, Ucal is smashing his lane. And he just doesn't have that kind of same presence when you are putting him on like a Cassante. Specifically, I thought the Annie pick we saw was kind of mid. I wasn't super impressed with what we were seeing from them. So I want to see both the teams focus back in on their identity. When we saw Ultra Prime win this game, I'm not going to say all of it was because of Forge, but he was back on the Annie. He was being more of a facilitator, more there to help out Ning, help out Doggo when we find those picks. And for TT, they didn't have a lane to really play through.